Right, Trips, how's it going? Another Wednesday session, another accessory session. This week's similar to last week's. So some upper body plyos. In fact, just one upper body plyo, the plyo push-ups. Then some pogos for lower body. Again, not doing too much of those just because I'm reintroducing my knee to some plyos after a bit of quad tendinopathy for a bit, which is getting a lot better. So hopefully that continues in that kind of same vein. Then going to do some more hypertrophy clusters, although there won't be the pull-ups this week because I done them yesterday. Then some more just kind of upper body, bodybuilding type things. A little bit of adductor pain at the minute, so I'm going to do some Copenhagen planks and then some single leg stuff just to continue, hopefully, the knee getting a bit better. Okay, so today's topic is going to be about why probably 80 to 90% of S&C shouldn't differ between sports. So you've probably seen quite a lot on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you get your kind of S&C stuff about how S&C should be specific to your sport. So if you play badminton, your S&C should be different from someone who plays basketball. If you play basketball, it should be different from someone who plays rugby. If you play rugby, it should be different from someone who does wrestling. And I'm here to say that is not true. Now, before somebody goes in the comments and starts going nuts about how badminton's so different from wrestling, is so different from rugby, blah, 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 the actual sport itself might be different and the skills required might be different, but the physical qualities are not that different. In fact, not only are they not that different, they're actually not different at all. The only thing that differs is the amount of each thing that you need. We'll come back to that kind of thought in a little minute. So if you think about the greatest athletes across every sport, right? So some of the best athletes of all time, you're talking guys like Mike Tyson, Cristiano Ronaldo, Marshawn Lynch, Michael Phelps. There's probably some other ones as well that you guys are just screaming about right now, but actually I've had quite a stressful day, nothing else is popping out to me. But whoever your favourite athlete is, right, is someone who really, no matter what sport they do, they define athlete for you. If you think about the qualities they possess, and those people that I just named as well, the actual qualities that they have don't really differ that much. For talking sake, two of the ones that I said there, Ronaldo and Mike Tyson. So you think boxing and football, they couldn't be any further from each other, they're so different. But think about what makes Ronaldo good, right? The things that made him the player that he was when he was at his peak. The physical qualities that he had was he was incredibly strong, incredibly powerful, incredibly fast, and he could do it for 90 minutes every single week. Now if I ask you to tell me what makes Mike Tyson good at boxing, the first things you would say, super strong, super powerful, so explosive, and he can do it for the duration that he needs to. So there's where you can see where they tie together. They have the same really high amounts of a physical quality, both really strong, both really powerful, both really fast, and both can do it for the time that their sport dictates that they need to. And what you also need to remember when you're looking at this is that S&C should be general. So you're not trying to improve directly the sport, you're trying to increase the capacity to be good at the sport. So if you're trying to increase strength, for talking sake, there's not really any such thing as being football or soccer strong, right? You're just strong. It's the same way. There's no such thing as like being boxing strong. Like they're just strong. So that means when it comes to training those qualities, it shouldn't really differ that much if it's a boxer that you're training, or a footballer, or an American footballer, or a rugby player, or a badminton player, or a long distance runner. They should all be trying to improve the same qualities, and they will be improved in very, very similar ways. And the way that I can prove this is, if somebody came to me and they said they wanted to get strong, the four things that I would teach them is how to hinge, how to squat, how to pull, and how to press. Now, if 3 weeks into the training block they went, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I do boxing at the weekends, or I play football on a Sunday, like, I wouldn't just completely change the exercise that they're doing. That doesn't make any sense. As long as they're progressing and getting stronger, then we're moving in the right direction, no matter what sport they play. Now we'll go back to that idea earlier that I spoke about it depends how much of the quality they need. So I coach a lot of badminton guys and I coach a lot of American football guys. And in order to get those guys strong, as I said, we do very similar movements. We do back squat, we do hinges, we do presses, we do pulls. But the one thing that you'll see that differs between these two programs is the amount they do those exercises. So obviously strength is important for badminton, but it's not as important as it is for American football. So the American footballers are going to do a lot more. Same way being fit, cardiovascularly fit, is important for American football. It's not as important as it is for badminton. So therefore the badminton players are going to do a bit more of that. Now, depending on your position, where these two sports do meet is the fact that both players need to be incredibly agile. So both players in badminton and American football are going to do a lot of that. So that's the main point as to why your S&C should be the same. So you're probably thinking now, well, or why would it ever need to be this similar? Well, there's obviously the point that we just spoke about the amount that you need is going to differ, so therefore the volume that you do is going to differ. But also the order that you do things in based on your schedule, how much you can do based on your schedule, and then personal, more individual things come into it rather than specifically being the sport that you play. And then you'll also get some trends too, like a lot of rugby players will use safety bar squats just because their shoulders are fucked up from playing rugby at the weekend. So they'll maybe use a safety bar squat rather than a back squat that a badminton player might use. American football and rugby and all seasonal sports as well, they also have a much more clear-cut in-season, off-season and pre-season, so therefore it's much easier to focus on certain aspects at different times of the year. Whereas with, well, particularly the badminton guys that I've worked with anyway, they have a very, very small off-season, a very short amount of time where they're not competing, so you're having to work on just about every quality all year round. And again, it's not that you won't be doing this with like American football, but it's just not as clear cut. This is my last week on the sets of 4 of the hypertrophy clusters, so I think last week I done all my sets with the 30s, so I think I'm going to try and do 4 with the 30s and 4 with the 32s today. I did this last week as well, but I've really enjoyed doing the hypertrophy clusters. I found it much more fun than doing 4 sets of 10, just because you get to move the weight a lot more violently. It feels a lot more fun. So now we'll kind of cover why sport-specific movements don't actually make any sense. Well, for the most part anyways, for like 99% of scenarios. So the way I like to think about using general exercises, so say we're talking about a kicker in American football, right, and they want to improve how far they can kick for their field goals. So you'll see people talking about using sport-specific movements, and it will be like doing a kick, but it's banded, right, which is literally ludicrous for 2 reasons. The first one is going to be it's actually going to change your movement pattern away from what is considered good technique. So again, if you do something like a banded punch or a weighted punch, or a weighted swing in baseball is one that you see quite often. It actually changes the way that your body organises itself, so that when you go back to doing it in your actual sport, your movement pattern gets worse. So that's obviously something that you don't want. And then number 2 is that, say again, we're still using this example of trying to help a kicker improve how far they can kick. If you improve your quad strength and your hip strength and your hamstring strength, what you're basically doing is increasing the capacity for you to kick far, and then you use your skill training to try and reach that capacity. These don't feel too bad today, actually. Shoulders actually feel a bit more warmed up than they did last week. Kind of 2 ways you want to look at your S&C for your sport. So the first one is going to be improving your capacity to get better at your sport. So if you're thinking about a boxer, you're trying to improve your lower body strength and your lower body power, in order to, when you get to training, you can improve your punch power because you've got that increased capacity. And then the second way to look at it is improving your body's capacity to deal with the forces that you have to when you're playing your sport. So if you're a badminton player and you're doing lots of lower body plyos, lower body strength, you're improving your body's capacity to deal with all the lunge positions, all the jumps, landings that you have to experience across the season as a badminton player. Yeah, so hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. If you want more ideas like this, then you can check the link in the description. There will be a link to 30 days of emails of, in my humble opinion, fantastic S&C knowledge. So hit that if you want to learn a little bit more, and yeah, hopefully this has been helpful, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.